The Galactic Federation Academy hung in high orbit around Epsilon Eridani, a gleaming collection of rotating rings and sleek spires that housed the finest military minds of 17 sentient species. 16 respected sentient species and humans. Cadet Eliza Liz Morgan stood at rigid attention as Admiral Gruzik's mandibles clicked disapprovingly. The 8-foot mantis-like alien towered over her 5'6" frame, compound eyes reflecting her image 17 times over. Wonderful. 17 little disappointed Liz's staring back at her. Cadet Morgan, explain why your respiratory byproducts contaminated the Class 9 atmospheric simulation chamber. Liz fought the urge to sigh. Sir, I was breathing, sir. As humans do. Exactly. His mandible clicked triumphantly. Oxygen metabolizers are expected to wear filtration masks in shared environments. The regulation mask seals were designed for Tukian face ridges, sir. I requested human-compatible equipment 3 standard cycles ago. Admiral Gruzik's antennae twitched. Excuses are not becoming of a cadet, especially one from a provisional species. Provisional species. There it was again. Humanity had only gained Federation membership 8 years ago, an eye blink, compared to the Voltar's 8,000 years of interstellar civilization or the jury's 12 millennia of documented history. Humans were the new kids on the cosmic block, and everyone made sure they knew it. Understood, sir. Won't happen again, sir. Dismissed, Morgan. Liz turned sharply and marched down the polished corridor of the Academy's central hub, ignoring the curious glances from alien cadets. Some had exoskeletons, others 4 arms. A few floated on personal gravity fields, and not one looked remotely human. The situation wasn't helped by the upcoming interspecies combat tournament, the Academy's most prestigious event, where cadets demonstrated their species' martial prowess. Last year's human representative had been knocked unconscious in 7 seconds. Not exactly a ringing endorsement for humanity's potential. Approaching her dormitory pod, Liz heard familiar laughter, the high-pitched keening of Ragnarok cadets. 3 upperclassmen blocked her path, led by Kreegax, a crimson-scaled reptilian whose neck frills expanded at her approach. The breathing incident reached the cadet mess already? Liz asked, keeping her voice neutral. You really don't belong here, do you, skinsack? Kreegax's forked tongue flicked between needle-like teeth. Your species can barely maintain atmospheric integrity, yet they let you train alongside real warriors. I scored top of my class in theoretical astrogation. Theory. The Ragnarok cadets erupted in hissing laughter. Theory won't save you when Drak Thor pulverizes your fragile calcium supports in the tournament. Liz froze. What tournament? Kreegax's vertical pupils contracted with delight. Didn't you hear? The combat roster was posted. Academy champion Drak Thor personally requested you as his opponent. His voice dropped mockingly. Such an honor for the human contingent. The Ragnoks shouldered past her, scales scraping against the corridor wall. Liz stood motionless, her reflection in the polished metal surface showing exactly what she was, the only human in a galaxy that had already decided her species didn't measure up. Liz's morning routine started like any other day at the Academy. Wake up at 0500 hours. Perform the recommended human stretches that made her alien roommate Krill cringe in horror. Your endoskeleton should not bend that way. Shower in water adjusted to a pH level that wouldn't dissolve her skin but was still uncomfortable enough to remind her this place wasn't built for humans. You're quieter than usual, observed Krill, her blue amphibious form perched delicately on her moisture-regulated sleeping platform. Krill's large, bulbous eyes blinked in asynchronous patterns, her species' equivalent of concerned frowning. Is it about the tournament selection? News travels faster than a quantum entanglement leak around here, Liz muttered, pulling on her cadet uniform. The fabric, designed for multiple body types, still somehow managed to be uncomfortable for human physiology. Everyone's talking about it, Drac Thor choosing a first-year human? It's unprecedented. Unprecedented was a polite way of saying potentially fatal. Drac Thor wasn't just the Academy champion, he was a third-year Kronan, a silicon-based life form whose outer layer crystallized into diamond hard plates under pressure. The last opponent who'd faced him in the ring had spent 3 weeks in cellular reconstruction. I didn't even volunteer, Liz said, checking her appearance in the mirror. Can I refuse? Krill's skin shifted to a deeper shade of blue. Technically yes, practically no. Refusing a challenge is grounds for review of your Academy placement. And considering humanity's probationary status. Right. Human gets scared, all humans look weak. Got it. Man. The Academy mess hall fell silent when Liz entered. Hundreds of alien eyes, optical sensors, and sensory organs turned toward her. Conversations resumed in hushed tones as she collected her nutritional supplement, a bland protein cube allegedly calibrated for human taste preferences by someone who'd clearly never met a human. Commander Vex intercepted her before she could find an empty table. The 4-armed Jiri combat instructor's exoskeleton gleamed under the artificial lighting. Cadet Morgan. My office. Now. Vex's office resembled an armory more than administrative space. Weapons from 100 worlds lined the walls, some recognizable, others defying description. You've been selected for the tournament, Vex stated flatly. Not selected. Targeted. Same outcome. Vex's upper arms crossed while his lower arms sorted through training schedules on a holographic display. Drac Thor wants to make an example of you. Why me specifically? There are 3 other human cadets. But you're the only one who corrected a senior instructor on Kronan battle formation history last month. Liz winced. I didn't think he'd take it personally. Everything is personal to a Kronan, Vex said. Especially to the nephew of the Academy's Kronan combat master. Great. Not only was she fighting a living tank, but one with connections. As if summoned by her thoughts, the office door slid open. Drac Thor ducked his massive crystalline head under the frame. Standing nearly 7 feet tall, his body resembled polished granite with pulsing veins of blue energy visible beneath the surface. Discussing strategy, Commander? Drac Thor's voice rumbled like stones in a tumbler. Waste of time. Humans might understand theory, but they lack practical application. His gaze shifted to Liz. I look forward to demonstrating the difference. The match is scheduled for 7 cycles from now. Try not to break before then. After he left, Liz turned to Commander Vex. I'm dead, aren't I? Vex's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Probably. Unless. Unless what? Unless you're willing to train harder than any cadet in Academy history. Liz straightened her shoulders. What choice do I have? The next day, the official challenge was broadcast throughout the Academy. On the Central Plaza's massive view screen, Drac Thor formally announced his selection of the human theorist as his opponent, drawing cheers and jeers from the gathered crowd. When asked why he'd chosen such an unlikely opponent, his answer was broadcast across every communication channel. Humans claim they're ready for galactic society. It's time they learned they're playing in a league they can't possibly comprehend. The laughter that followed echoed through every corridor of the Academy. Again. Commander Vex barked as Liz picked herself up from the training mat for what felt like the 100th time that session. I'm trying, she panted, wiping sweat from her brow. Humans were the only species at the Academy that leaked water when exerting themselves, another biological quirk that earned constant ridicule. Trying isn't winning, Vex retorted, his 4 arms positioned in a classic Jiri combat stance. A Kronan doesn't care how hard you try when he's pulverizing your internal organs. Liz lunged again, attempting to slip past Vex's guard as he'd instructed. One of his lower arms caught her wrist, and suddenly she was airborne, then flat on her back staring at the ceiling. Your problem isn't technique, Vex said, extending a hand to help her up. It's that you're fighting like you think an alien would fight. Stop it. Matt, I'm being trained by aliens to fight an alien in alien combat system, Liz groaned. How exactly should I fight? Like a human. Vex's compound eyes reflected the harsh training room lights. I once fought alongside humans, you know. During the Regelian border dispute. This was news to Liz. Commander Vex had never mentioned personal experience with humans before. The humans in my unit were hopelessly outmatched physically, he continued. The Regelians had twice their strength, natural armor, and toxic barbs. On paper, the humans should have been slaughtered. What happened? The humans won. Vex's mandibles clicked in what Liz had learned was amusement. They cheated. But humans don't cheat, Liz protested. Not by human standards, perhaps, but they refused to fight according to established combat doctrines. When the Regelians attacked high, the humans went low. When charged, they sidestepped. When surrounded, they created chaos. They were unpredictable. Unpredictability isn't exactly a training regimen. No, but it's humanity's secret weapon. Vex walked to a console and pulled up footage of Drak Thor's previous matches. Look at his fights. Every species he faces follows their traditional combat patterns. The Voltar attack with primary limbs first, always. The Tukians begin with defensive postures. The Jrimai people rely on symmetrical limb movements. And Drak Thor counters them all perfectly, Liz observed, watching the Cronin methodically dismantle opponent after opponent. Because he studies species, not individuals, Vex froze the footage. But humans? Your species has no unified fighting style. You borrow, adapt, improvise. It makes you unpredictable, and in combat, unpredictability is invaluable. That evening, Krill helped Liz study recordings of every Cronin match in Academy history. Look there, Krill pointed with a webbed finger. Cronins channel power through their crystalline structure. But after an impact, see how the blue energy lines dim slightly? That's their recharge cycle. Too brief to exploit, Liz noted. For most species, yes, but human neural responses are surprisingly fast for carbon-based life forms. Over the next 5 days, Liz trained relentlessly. While most cadets saw her in the standard combat training facilities, but what they didn't see were the private sessions with Commander Vex and the late-night strategy meetings with Krill. Vex pushed her through exercises designed to emphasize human adaptability and quick thinking rather than brute strength. Cronins expect to overwhelm with power, he explained. They don't adapt well to changing circumstances. So I need to be the changing circumstance, Liz realized. On the 6th day of training, Academy regulations required a pre-match medical assessment. The Academy physician, a gelatinous morphin named Dr. Blob, not his real name, but the closest human pronunciation, oozed concern as he reviewed her readings. Your tissues are alarmingly fragile, he burbled. Perhaps a medical exemption. Not happening, Liz interrupted. Just tell me if I'll survive a direct hit. Dr. Blob's translucent body darkened anxiously. 1, perhaps. 2 would be inadvisable. As she left the medical bay, Liz nearly collided with Commander Vex in the corridor. Last training session canceled, he announced. Rest. Tomorrow you either make history or become a cautionary tale in the Academy records. Thanks for the pep talk. One last thing. Vex handed her a small device, standard issue emergency locator beacon. If the match goes poorly, activate it. The medical team will respond instantly. Liz stared at the device. You're really not instilling confidence here. Confidence didn't keep anyone alive, Vex replied. Preparation and backup plans do. He hesitated, then added, the Academy hasn't seen what humans are truly capable of. tomorrow might change that. The morning of the tournament arrived with all the subtlety of a supernova. The Academy's massive combat arena, normally reserved for final year demonstrations, had been specially prepared for the exhibition match between the Academy champion and the human cadet. Liz's stomach churned as she entered the preparation chamber. Her combat uniform, allegedly adjusted for human physiology, chafed in at least 7 uncomfortable places. The heads-up display in her visor flickered with vital signs that seemed determined to alarm her. Heart rate elevated, the system announced. Recommendation: Cadet should attempt Voltar calming techniques. "I don't have 4 hearts to regulate," Liz muttered, silencing the alerts. Krill slipped into the prep room, her amphibious skin shifting anxiously through shades of blue. "You shouldn't be here," Liz said. "Opponents' supporters aren't allowed in prep areas." "I'm not here as support," Krill replied, her voice unusually serious. "I'm here with information. Drak Thor's friends tampered with your environmental controls." "What?" "Your suit's oxygen mixture was altered to induce mild disorientation. I caught one of them leaving this area." Liz checked her suit diagnostics again, but sure enough, the oxygen-nitrogen balance had been set to a ratio that would leave her lightheaded within minutes of physical exertion. "Thanks," she said, resetting the controls. "Though I'm not surprised. Playing fair doesn't seem to be the Cronin way." "The entire Academy is watching this match," Krill said, her bulbous eyes blinking rapidly, a sign of extreme stress in her species. 17 different planetary broadcasts. Even some Federation Council members. "Great. No pressure." "You don't have to go through with this," Krill continued. "Medical exemptions would confirm every stereotype about human weakness," Liz finished. "Not an option." A warning chime sounded, indicating 5 minutes until the match. "I should go," Krill said, heading for the door. She paused, turning back. "Humans have a phrase I've studied, break a leg. I believe it's meant as encouragement, though the specifics of intentional skeletal damage as a positive." "I get it," Liz smiled. "Thanks." Left alone, Liz's confidence wavered. What was she doing? Cronins were literally made of living stone. Their strength was legendary, their endurance unmatched. And here she was, a first-year human cadet with nothing but some hasty training and a vague plan based on being unpredictable. The arena roared with the sounds of 17 different species as Liz emerged from the preparation tunnel. The circular combat floor gleamed under artificial lighting designed to accommodate all known visual spectrums. Tiered seating rows in concentric rings packed with cadets, instructors, and honored guests. At the highest tier sat Admiral Grzegty alongside other Academy officials. Beside them, a delegation of Federation representatives observed with cool detachment, deciding, perhaps, if humans truly belonged among the stars. Across the arena, Drak Thor entered to thunderous applause. His crystalline body had been polished to a high shine, blue energy pulsing powerfully beneath the surface. He acknowledged the crowd with practiced ease, every movement projecting absolute confidence. The Academy Combat Master, an ancient Cronin who looked like a mountain given limited mobility, stepped to the center of the arena. "This exhibition match will demonstrate interspecies combat techniques," his voice boomed, though everyone knew this was no mere exhibition. Standard Academy rules apply with one modification. Liz's stomach tightened. Modifications were never in favor of the underdog. In recognition of human biological limitations, the Combat Master continued, "Cadet Drak Thor will restrict his crystalline density to 70% of maximum." The crowd murmured. Liz caught Commander Vex's gaze from the instructors section. His slight headshake confirmed her suspicion this handicap was meaningless. Even at reduced density, a Cronin could shatter concrete. "This match concludes upon surrender, incapacitation, or at my discretion," the Combat Master announced. "Combatants, approach." Liz and Drak Thor walked to the center circle. Up close, the Cronin towered over her, his silicon-based physiology radiating power. "Last chance to withdraw, human," Drak Thor rumbled quietly, his voice pitched to avoid being picked up by the arena's audio systems. "Surrender now, and I'll make it appear competitive." "Generous," Liz replied. "But I think I'll take my chances. Your pride will cost you." "Maybe." But then again she smiled up at him. "Humans are full of surprises."
The combat master raised his hand. "Combatants ready? Begin." The match began precisely as everyone expected, with Drak Thor charging forward like a crystalline bulldozer. His massive form crossed the arena floor with surprising speed for something that resembled animated granite. Liz barely dodged the first attack, a sweeping arm that would have connected with the force of a ground vehicle. The crowd roared at the near miss, some in disappointment, others in surprise that the human had avoided immediate defeat.
"Stand still," Drak Thor growled, pivoting faster than something his size should move. "Not really in my best interest," Liz replied, ducking under another swing. Her heart hammered against her ribcage as adrenaline flooded her system. The Cronin's attacks created audible displacement of air. Each miss still felt like a close encounter with a natural disaster. For the first 2 minutes, Liz did nothing but evade. She circled, dodged, rolled, and generally refused to engage, a tactic that clearly frustrated her opponent and confused the audience. Most Academy matches involved direct confrontation from the start. "Fight back, coward," Drak Thor demanded, smashing his fist into the floor where Liz had stood a heartbeat earlier. The impact left a spiderweb of cracks in the reinforced combat surface. From the crowd, jeers began to rise, the humans running. Typical primate fear response. End this farce. But Liz wasn't running aimlessly. With each attack, she was watching Drak Thor's movement patterns, noting the flow of energy through his crystalline body, looking for the momentary dimming Krill had identified. The problem was that the Cronin wasn't exerting himself enough to trigger a recharge cycle. "This isn't a tactical retreat exercise," Drak Thor taunted, herding her toward the arena's edge. But then, humans always did prefer theory to application. Liz knew she couldn't keep evading forever. The audience's patience was wearing thin, and more importantly, she was tiring while Drak Thor had barely begun to exert himself. She needed to force him to overextend. "You know what I think?" she called out, circling left while Drak Thor advanced. "I think you chose me because you're afraid." The Cronin's blue energy lines pulsed brighter. "Afraid? Of a human? Afraid of risking your precious reputation against a real opponent," Liz continued, projecting her voice to carry through the arena. "Picking on a first year from a provisional species? Not exactly the stuff of legends, is it?" Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Cronin culture placed enormous emphasis on reputation and honor, as Vex had made sure she understood. "You understand nothing of honor," Drak Thor snarled, his patience visibly fraying. "I understand enough to know a bully when I see one," Liz retorted, stopping her retreat and planting her feet. "So come on then. Show everyone what the great champion can do against someone half your size." It worked better than she'd anticipated. Drak Thor abandoned all pretense of strategy and charged, channeling so much energy into his right arm that the blue veins blazed like plasma conduits. He launched a devastating overhead strike, exactly the kind of all-in attack Liz had been baiting. Instead of dodging again, Liz stepped into the attack. The crowd gasped collectively, certain they were about to witness the flattening of humanity's representative. But at the last possible moment, Liz dropped and slid beneath Drak Thor's guard, using the momentum of his charge against him. The Cronin's massive fist crashed into the arena floor with a force that sent tremors throughout the entire structure. The energy expenditure was enormous, and for a crucial second and a half, the blue lines throughout his body dimmed as his system recharged. It was the moment Liz had been training for. In that brief window, she struck not with strength, which would be useless against his density, but with precision. Using a retractable training baton that Commander Vex had modified for the match, she targeted the exact spot where all Cronins had a crystalline convergence point, the juncture between shoulder and neck. The specialized baton, vibrating at a frequency that Commander Vex had calculated would disrupt silicon-based structures, made contact during the exact millisecond of energy depletion. The effect was instantaneous and spectacular. Thor's entire right arm went temporarily inert, the energy flow disrupted just long enough to affect its functionality. The crystalline limb hung uselessly at his side as he staggered, more from shock than injury. The arena fell deadly silent. In 3 years of combat at the Academy, no one had ever managed to disable any part of Thor's body, however temporarily. The Cronin's expression shifted from disbelief to fury. "Trick weapon," he accused, loud enough for the officials to hear. "Illegal modification." The combat master hesitated, clearly surprised by this turn of events, but ultimately shook his head. Standard Academy training baton, registered to Commander Vex's combat class. No prohibitions against its use. With his functioning arm, Thor swung wildly at Liz. She ducked the first swing but caught the edge of the second, the impact sending her sprawling across the arena floor. Pain exploded across her ribs, nothing broken, but definitely bruised. "One hit," she gasped, remembering Dr. Blob's warning as she struggled to her feet. She couldn't afford to take another. Thor advanced again, but now his movements were less controlled, driven by wounded pride rather than tactical consideration. His right arm was slowly regaining function, the energy flow stabilizing. Liz had seconds at most before her advantage disappeared. The crowd had found its voice again, but the jeers had been replaced by genuine excitement. The match had become unpredictable, exactly as Liz had planned. "Lucky strike," Thor growled. "It won't happen again." "Actually," Liz replied, backing away as she caught her breath, "humans don't really believe in luck. We believe in preparation." She feinted left, then darted right, a classic human combat misdirection that confused opponents used to more straightforward attacks. As Thor pivoted to follow, Liz executed the maneuver that Commander Vex had drilled her on for days, a slide beneath the Cronin's guard, followed by striking upward at the secondary convergence point located at the base of his spine. This time, when the baton made contact, Thor's legs temporarily lost coherence. The massive cadet crashed forward, catching himself with his functioning arm before his face hit the arena floor. The crowd erupted. Cadets of 17 species leapt to their feet, some in outrage, others in astonished appreciation. Commander Vex remained seated, but Liz could swear his mandibles had formed the jury equivalent of a smile.
Thor wasn't finished, far from it. Even with temporary disruption to his legs, his upper body strength remained formidable. He swung himself around, managing to catch Liz's ankle as she tried to retreat.
The Cronin's grip was excruciating. One twist would snap the bones in her leg. They both knew it. "Surrender," he demanded. Liz met his gaze. "Humans don't surrender easily. It's another of our annoying traits." With her free leg, she kicked the baton she'd dropped, sending it skittering across the floor, away from both of them. Thor's expression shifted to confusion. Why would she discard her advantage? A split-second distraction that allowed Liz to twist in his grip and execute the final move in her strategy. From her boot, she pulled a small device, not a weapon, but the emergency locator beacon Commander Vex had given her. With a quick adjustment to its frequency, she pressed it against Thor's chest plate and activated it. The beacon, designed to pulse an emergency signal through any material, emitted an electromagnetic burst that interfered catastrophically with the Cronin's energy patterns. Every blue line in his body flickered simultaneously. His grip released as his entire crystalline form temporarily lost coherence. Liz rolled clear as Thor collapsed fully to the arena floor, his silicon-based nervous system temporarily scrambled by the beacon's pulse. The combat master stared in disbelief for 3 full seconds before raising his hand. Victory to Cadet Morgan. The Academy mess hall had never been so quiet when Liz entered. 2 days after the match, her bruised ribs were healing nicely thanks to the medical bay's regeneration technology, but it was the silence that really felt like a balm. Gone were the jeers, the mocking, the dismissive comments about humans and their place in the galaxy. Instead, cadets from species that had previously ignored her existence now nodded respectfully as she passed. A group of Tachyons even vacated their table, gesturing for her to take their prime spot near the viewport. Quite the reversal of fortune, observed Commander Vex, appearing beside her as she collected her food tray, which now somehow included actual recognizable fruits rather than the standard nutritional cubes. "Did you know it would work?" Liz asked quietly. "The beacon trick?" "Theoretically," Vex admitted. "Cronins are sensitive to certain electromagnetic frequencies. But using an emergency beacon as a combat tool, that was innovative or desperate. In combat, the distinction is irrelevant. The results matter." Vex's compound eyes studied her. "The Academy Combat Master has requested your presence later today." Liz's stomach tightened. "To disqualify me?" "To discuss your potential transfer to advanced combat training." Before she could respond, a hush fell over the mess hall. Drak Thor had entered, his massive form moving somewhat stiffly, residual effects from the electromagnetic pulse, according to Academy medical reports. The Cronin surveyed the room until his gaze locked on Liz. The entire mess hall watched as he approached her table. Krill, seated nearby, subtly shifted closer to Liz, ready to intervene despite the obvious futility of an amphibian defending against a silicon-based life form. Drak Thor stopped directly opposite Liz. For a long moment he said nothing, the blue energy lines beneath his crystalline surface pulsing steadily. "Cadet Morgan," he finally rumbled, "your victory was unexpected." "That was rather the point," Liz replied evenly. Indeed, the Cronin's face was difficult to read, but his voice carried what might have been reluctant respect. "The Combat Master informs me you used Academy-approved equipment in unconventional ways. No rules were broken. Just expectations." "Yes," Drak Thor straightened to his full imposing height. "The next time we meet in combat, I will not underestimate human ingenuity." It wasn't an apology. Cronins rarely apologized, but it was acknowledgement. In the hierarchy of Academy respect, that counted for a great deal.
As Drak Thor walked away, conversations gradually resumed throughout the mess hall. Krill slid into the seat across from Liz, her skin flushed with excitement. "Did that just happen? Did the Academy champion just publicly acknowledge your victory?" Apparently. Liz couldn't quite keep the satisfaction from her voice. "This changes everything," Krill continued. The Galactic News Network picked up the match footage. They're calling it the Silicon Surprise. Even the Federation Council members who attended are talking about it. "Really?" A handful are suggesting accelerated full membership status for humanity based on your performance." Liz nearly choked on her drink. "'Cause one cadet won one match. That seems excessive." "It's not about the win," Commander Vex interjected, still standing nearby. "It's what the win represents. For decades, the established species believed they understood humanity's limits. You demonstrated that maybe they don't." Later that day, as Liz headed toward her meeting with the combat master, Admiral Grezik Tate intercepted her in the corridor. His mandibles clicked rhythmically, the mantid equivalent of clearing one's throat. "Cadet Morgan, your performance has been noted." "Thank you, sir." "The Academy exists to identify the unique strengths each species brings to the Federation." The Admiral's compound eyes reflected the corridor lights. "Perhaps humans bring more than we initially calculated." As he walked away, Liz allowed herself a small smile. One match wouldn't change millennia of interspecies prejudice overnight, but it was a start. A foot in the door of a galaxy that had been all too ready to dismiss humanity as an evolutionary footnote. In her dormitory that evening, Liz found a small package on her bunk. Inside was a modified training baton with a note from Commander Vex for continued theoretical applications. Krill watched from her moisture pod. So, what happens next? Liz examined the baton, thinking about the upcoming training cycles, the advanced combat classes, and the whispers already circulating about next year's tournament. What happens next? She echoed, a smile spreading across her face. I think the galaxy is finally going to learn rule number 1 about humans, which is I never ever assume you know what we're capable of. Liz activated the baton, its harmonics humming with possibilities. It tends to end badly for those who do. Somewhere in the vast, star-filled darkness beyond the Academy's viewports, humanity's future and the galactic community looked just a little bit brighter.